It was more than just a Champions League final. It was a battle between two giants. One game from football immortality. One night in Berlin. Two teams, two managers, two dreams. Only one could leave with a treble. This is why the 2015 Champions League final will never be forgotten. The 2015 Champions League final wasn't just about lifting the biggest trophy in club football. It was about completing the treble, a feat so rare that only a handful of clubs had achieved it. Juventus were aiming to become the second Italian side in history to win the treble after Inter Milan in 2010. Barcelona were looking to repeat what they did in 2009, win the league, the domestic cup, and the Champions League in the same season. Both teams had already secured two trophies. Only the Champions League remained. This wasn't a coincidence. Both clubs had built dominant squads. Both had managers in their first season, Massimiliano Allegri for Juventus and Luis Enrique for Barcelona, and both had exceeded expectations. Juventus entered the final after winning Serie A by a staggering 17-point gap over second-place Roma. It wasn't a close race, it was domination. They secured the title with 4 games to spare, showcasing defensive discipline and tactical efficiency. Then came the Coppa Italia. Juventus hadn't won it in almost 2 decades. They faced Lazio in the final and won 2-1 after extra time, with goals from Chiellini and Matri. Allegri had already delivered a domestic double in his debut season. Now, all eyes in Turin were on Berlin. The treble was within reach. But on the other side of the pitch, Barcelona had the same goal, and arguably even more firepower. 1 year before the 2014-15 final, Barcelona was in chaos. The 2013-14 season ended with no major trophies. Internal problems were everywhere. Conflicts between players, doubts about the board, and a fan base losing patience. Tata Martino resigned. The team looked lost. Then came Luis Enrique. A former Barcelona captain, Enrique brought authority, discipline, and a new tactical identity. He introduced a high-intensity pressing system, restructured the midfield, and unleashed one of the most dangerous front threes football had ever seen: Messi, Suarez, and Neymar. Barcelona's turnaround was immediate. In La Liga, they battled a relentless Real Madrid side all season, but Enrique's team kept grinding out results. They finished the campaign with 94 points, just 2 points ahead of Madrid. They scored 110 goals and conceded only 21, and lost 4 matches in the entire league season. Consistent, efficient, deadly. Then came the Copa del Rey. Barcelona faced Athletic Bilbao in the final. They won 3-1, with Messi scoring one of the greatest goals of his career.
Well, there's 3 of them right, he's still going. Look at this, Kevin. It's a brilliant run from Messi. Did he go all the way?
Dribbling from the halfway line past 4 defenders, it was dominance with style. With La Liga and the Copa del Rey secured, only one trophy remained: the Champions League. The last team to stop them? A Juventus side with the same dream. Before we continue this video, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel, as this will really help us grow. Thank you. Juventus started their Champions League campaign in Group A, alongside Atletico Madrid, Olympiacos, and Malmo. On paper, it looked manageable. In reality, it was anything but smooth. They lost twice, once to Atletico and once to Olympiacos, raising early doubts about their European credentials. But they stayed composed. They beat Malmo home and away and secured crucial home wins against Olympiacos and Atletico. Juventus finished second in the group behind Atletico, just scraping through with 10 points. It wasn't dominant, but it was enough. Then came the round of 16, and with it, a statement performance. They faced Borussia Dortmund. In the first leg in Turin, Juventus won 2-1, with goals from Tevez and Morata. The return leg in Germany was clinical. Tevez tore Dortmund apart with 2 goals and an assist. Juventus won 3-0, advancing 5-1 on aggregate. In the quarterfinals, they met Monaco, a defensive powerhouse. It was tight. Vidal's penalty in the first leg made the difference. The second leg in France ended 0-0 and Juventus moved on. The semi-finals were the true test. Real Madrid, the reigning champions. In the first leg, Juventus shocked many by winning 2-1 with Morata and Tevez on target. In Madrid, under relentless pressure, Morata scored again. It ended 1-1 and Juventus went through 3-2 on aggregate. From a shaky group stage to eliminating the champions, Juventus earned their spot in the final. Every step had tested them, and they passed. The squad was built with balance, experience in the back, creativity in midfield, and efficiency up front. In goal, they had the legendary Gianluigi Buffon, a leader and a wall at 37 years old, still performing at the highest level. In front of him, a defensive trio built on chemistry and strength. Andrea Barzagli, Patrice Evra, Leonardo Bonucci, and Giorgio Chiellini, who, by the way, didn't play in the final. This backline was one of Europe's most feared backlines. Their midfield was elite. Andrea Pirlo dictated the tempo with surgical precision. Claudio Marchisio is tireless and intelligent. Paul Pogba is a dynamic force with vision, flair, and physicality. And Arturo Vidal, the engine. Aggressive, box-to-box, and fearless. Up front they had Carlos Tevez, their top scorer and their fire. He carried the attack, linking up play and scoring crucial goals. Alongside him, Alvaro Morata is young but decisive, especially in the knockout stages. He'd already scored against Dortmund and Real Madrid. On the bench, players like Padoin, Kingsley Coman, and Fernando Llorente added depth and experience. Juventus weren't just defending, they were controlling games, outworking teams, and finding goals when it mattered. But in the final, they would face a different kind of challenge. A team with arguably the most dangerous front three in modern football history. While Juventus was grinding out results and fighting for survival, Barcelona was carving through Europe with swagger, speed, and surgical precision. This was not just a team on form, it was a team built for destruction. The journey began in Group F alongside Paris Saint-Germain, Ajax, and Apoel. On paper, it was manageable, but the campaign started with uncertainty. They edged past Apoel 1-0 in the opening match, but then stumbled in Paris, losing 3-2 to PSG. It wasn't a disastrous result, but it exposed some early cracks. However, that defeat triggered a shift. From that point, Barcelona sharpened their identity. They beat Ajax home and away with confidence and then closed out the group with a convincing 3-1 win over PSG at the Camp Nou to top the group. The performance against the French side was more than just 3 points. It was a warning that Barcelona had found their rhythm and they weren't going to slow down. The round of 16 brought a familiar opponent, Manchester City. The English side were dangerous, but Barcelona made them look ordinary. In the first leg at the Etihad, Suarez scored twice in the opening half, showcasing his movement and predatory instincts. Messi missed a penalty late on, but it didn't matter. Barcelona were in control. In the second leg, Rakitic chipped in with a beautiful finish to seal a 1-0 win, completing a 3-1 aggregate victory. Barcelona didn't just beat City, they dominated the tempo, dictated every phase of play, and left no room for error. Then came the quarter-finals, and with them, another chance to flex their strength against PSG. If the group stage win over them was impressive, the knockout round encounter was brutal. In the first leg in Paris, Barcelona crushed them 3-1. Neymar opened the scoring, but it was Suarez who stole the spotlight, twice nutmegging David Luiz before burying the ball past the keeper. In the return leg, Neymar scored twice in the first half to put the tie to bed early. Barcelona advanced 5-1 on aggregate without breaking a sweat. The trio up front, Messi, Suarez, and Neymar, was beginning to look like something the Champions League hadn't seen before. The semi-final, however, was the real test. Bayern Munich, led by Pep Guardiola, were waiting. Guardiola was returning to the Camp Nou for the first time as an opponent, and all eyes were on the tactical battle between mentor and student. For 75 minutes, the first leg was tight. Bayern held their shape, Barcelona knocked and waited, and then Messi struck. Twice in 3 minutes. The second goal, a piece of individual brilliance, left Jerome Boateng on the floor and Manuel Neuer helpless. Neymar added a third in stoppage time, and it ended 3-0, and the tie was effectively done. Bayern won the second leg 3-2 in Munich, but the damage had been done. Barcelona were through to the final, winning 5-3 on aggregate. Every step of the way, Barcelona looked untouchable. They didn't scrape through. They dominated. They overwhelmed. And that was because this team had balance in every line. Barcelona's 2014-15 squad wasn't just stacked with talent, it was built to dominate. Every player had a defined role, and almost every player hit their peak form at the same time. It was a team that didn't rely on one or two stars. It was a complete machine, efficient in every area, unpredictable going forward, and almost impossible to break down. Up front, the trio of Lionel Messi, Luis Suarez, and Neymar, known simply as MSN, was unlike anything Europe had seen. The numbers were outrageous. 122 goals between them in one season. Messi led with 58, Suarez followed with 25 despite missing the first 2 months, and Neymar added 39. But it wasn't just the volume, it was how they did it. Messi roamed freely, slicing through defenses with the ball glued to his feet. Suarez pressed relentlessly, bullied centre-backs, and created space with clever movement. Neymar added flair, unpredictability, and devastating pace. Their chemistry wasn't rehearsed, it was instinctive. One-touch passes, no-look through balls, and clinical finishing defined their connection. They weren't just teammates, they were a nightmare to defend against. Behind them, the midfield trio of Sergio Busquets, Andres Iniesta, and Ivan Rakitic held everything together. Busquets sat in front of the defense like a conductor with no wasted motion, intercepting passes, dictating the tempo, and snuffing out attacks before they began. Iniesta floated across the pitch with elegance, always one step ahead, always making the right choice. Rakitic brought energy, verticality, and defensive coverage. He scored in the Champions League final, but even before that, his ability to balance the midfield allowed Messi to drift into central areas without losing structure. Defensively, Gerard Piqué and Javier Mascherano formed a reliable and complementary centre-back pairing. Piqué handled aerial duels, carried the ball forward, and remained composed under pressure. Mascherano, a natural defensive midfielder, played centre-back with the heart of a warrior. He was aggressive, fearless, and incredibly talented. Dani Alves, operating more as a right winger than a traditional fullback, was constantly overlapping, providing width and chaos on the right. His link-up with Messi was telepathic. And on the left, Jordi Alba offered balance and pace, stretching opposition lines and recovering with speed. In goal, Marc-Andre ter Stegen, just 22 at the time, handled all the Champions League matches. His distribution was already elite, and his shot-stopping was calm and composed. He played a vital role in Barcelona's build-up play, acting as the first point of attack and showing maturity beyond his years in high-pressure situations. But it wasn't just about individual brilliance, it was about how it all clicked. Luis Enrique didn't invent something new, he maximized what he had. He gave the front three freedom to destroy, the midfield the structure to control, and the defense the stability to support. Every player had clear responsibility, and every player executed it. Their chemistry wasn't just effective, it was devastating, and they were taking this form into the final. The stage was set in Berlin. 2 teams, 2 treble dreams, 1 night. For Juventus and Barcelona, this was not just a final. It was the culmination of months of excellence. No underdogs, no surprises, just a heavyweight clash between 2 European giants at the absolute peak of their form. And it started with immediate intensity. Just 2 minutes in, Javier Mascherano conceded a corner, giving Juventus an early opportunity. Patrice Evra made the run and the ball was aimed at him, but Barcelona was alert and cleared the danger. What happened next set the tone for the night. In the 4th minute, Jordi Alba charged forward down the left and linked up with Neymar, who fed Andres Iniesta. 1 touch, 1 look, a perfect pass to Ivan Rakitic, and just like that, Barcelona led. It was the fastest goal Barcelona had ever scored in a Champions League final, and the 4th fastest in the competition's history. It wasn't just a goal, it was a statement. Juventus didn't collapse, but they were rattled. Barcelona was moving the ball with surgical precision, and the Italians struggled to keep up. In the 11th minute, Arturo Vidal picked up a yellow card for a reckless challenge on Sergio Busquets, one of many fouls as Juve tried to disrupt Barcelona's rhythm. But despite the early dominance, the score remained 1-0 at halftime. Juve was still in it, they just needed one moment. 10 minutes into the second half, they got it. Claudio Marchisio, with a brilliant backheel, opened up the right flank for Stefan Lichtsteiner. He surged forward and found Carlos Tevez, who fired a shot on goal. Marc-Andre ter Stegen got down to save it, but the rebound fell perfectly to Alvaro Morata. He didn't miss. 1-1. Juventus were level, and for the next 10 minutes, they looked like the team more likely to win. Then came the turning point. In the 67th minute, Paul Pogba went down under pressure from Dani Alves in the penalty area. Juventus screamed for a penalty, but the referee wasn't interested. Play continued. 2 minutes later, Lionel Messi collected the ball on the edge of the area, skipped past one defender, and let fly. Buffon parried the shot, but Luis Suarez, as opportunistic as ever, pounced on the rebound. 2-1. Barcelona had taken the lead again, and this time they didn't plan on letting go. Shortly after, Neymar thought he'd sealed it when he finished off a cross from Alba, but the referee disallowed it. Neymar had headed the ball into his hand before it crossed the line. No goal. As time ticked on, both managers turned to their benches. Andreas Iniesta, the captain on the night, handed the armband to Xavi in the 78th minute, marking his final appearance for the club. Juventus responded with a triple substitution: Roberto Pereira for Vidal, Fernando Llorente for Morata, and Kingsley Coman for Patrice Evra. They were running out of time and out of options. Barcelona absorbed the pressure and waited for the final blow. It came in stoppage time, with Juventus throwing everyone forward. Dani Alves was booked for a handball near the halfway line. Juve launched it forward, desperate for an equaliser, but Barcelona cleared it cleanly and countered with lethal efficiency. Pedro sprinted forward, laid it off to Neymar, and with the final kick of the match, he buried it. 3-1, game over. Barcelona had done it. The treble was complete. Juventus had pushed and had fought, but couldn't keep up with the pace, precision, and quality of this Barcelona side. The Champions League final in 2015 wasn't just a battle, it was a masterpiece. A match filled with momentum shifts, world-class goals, and a display of two elite teams giving everything. And in the end, the team that had been just a little more clinical, a little more magical, walked away as champions. The 2015 Champions League final wasn't just the end of a season. It was the crowning moment of two incredible journeys. Juventus gave everything, but Barcelona's brilliance proved unstoppable. It was a night that showcased football at its highest level, a clash of titans where history was made. One team walked away heartbroken, the other walked into immortality. But what do you think? Where does this rank in the Champions League? Well, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to check out our last video on how Vinicius Jr. is making Rafinha a Ballon d'Or winner. Thank you.